Hello everyone, my name is Dennis, an angel manager in the Realiste, and today with me is James.
Hi everyone,
Yeah.
thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. And today we gonna discuss visas. And like the process, how you open the company, how you get the visas, the different types of visas that have here in UAE. A lot of our clients are having like that question, like how much they need to spend in order to get a visa, like what documents do they need, etc., etc.
Yeah, it's very common. I mean, so the UAE is a country where you need sponsorship to be able to reside here, unless you're from what's called the GCC, which is the group of nations that are signed into a treaty with this freedom of movement. Okay, so for anyone from outside the GCC, if you want to come here, you're going to need a visa. Okay, there are different visa restrictions based on your nationality for tourism, okay, and visit visa purposes, okay. But when it comes to living and staying in Dubai or visiting regularly and having this place as like a base or tax residency, you're going to need basically a long-term visa, okay. Correct. And the ways to get this really are either it has to be through sponsorship. So you either have to be sponsored by somebody else or by a company.
Yes.
That's the be all and end all of it. Okay.
Or through investments, of course.
Or through investment, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Okay, so let's cut that. So you that's the most important thing that we need to talk about, right? You have to you there's basically if you're going to live here and you're an expat from anywhere outside the GCC, regardless of your nationality, you need a long-term visa, and to get these, you either have to be sponsored by another person. It could be your wife, for instance, your husband, your father, okay? You have to be sponsored by your company or a company, okay? Or you can get an investment visa. Investment visa means you're going to invest money in the UAE or you're going to invest into property, basically.
Correct.
So, and there are different sums of money and different lengths of visa and things like that you can get. Okay. Now there is the ability now to do self-sponsorship, which is really good. This is something they opened up a few years ago. Okay. It's available for certain types of professions. Okay. Like doctors, for instance, can do self-sponsorship. There are various other lists of professions where those people are kind of adding value to society and the economy, and they can self-sponsor themselves. But to be able to really live here and to do things like have contracts for telephones, open up like a local account, not like an account as a foreigner, okay, to get finance. You know, a lot of people have like cars and things like that on finance, and that you're going to need your visa, you'll need an Emirates ID. They're kind of linked together, and it's all in a very nice, slick government integrated system.
Since it's like almost impossible to get the UAE passport, obviously. I personally know like only 2 people who like ever got it, so it's almost impossible.
Like okay, so they're not very open with making people UAE citizens. So you could get one if you're a woman and you're married to an Emirati man. Sure. That's one way to get it. Or if you're a child of an Emirati father. Okay. And you can get it. You used to be able to get it by living here a long time, but they actually phased out that rule. However, I believe that they might be bringing something similar back in, but it won't be like a full citizenship. But there is talk of them giving some kind of long-term kind of settlement type thing, like maybe a US green card type situation, but it's not here now. Okay, and then the other way is through merit. There are some billionaire businessmen and people like who've contributed an awful lot to the UAE economy that have actually been awarded the citizenship, even though they were not UAE nationals, because of what they've done here, and they've been monumental really in building what we see in this country today. So let's talk about some of the sort of the visas and the ways of getting them. Okay, do you have like some questions you wanna?
Sure. Like the one thing. Well, let's go like through like types kind of visa. You briefly mentioned it. So it's like the work visa that you can get through the company where you work, or like if you open one. Then the freelance visa. Or the investment visa. So with the investment visa, there's like 2 options. The one from 750,000 dirhams for you will get it for 2 years, and one is a golden visa for 10 years if you invest or buy property from 2 million dirhams plus.
That's right. So if you're going to make that investment, you'll automatically be eligible to apply, and this is the easiest visa to get and the longest term visa.
Yeah.
However, you've got to hold that asset. If you sell it, the Land Registry Department will actually inform the Immigration Department, and your visa will be cancelled. However, if you're selling it to buy another property, you can inform them of this, and then as long as the money remains invested in property, you can keep it. Okay?
Yeah, either in property or just in Dubai, like in UAE, like in
investment. Yeah. So they have some other things, like there's a retirement visa where you have to have like 5 million or 2 million dirhams. I think now it's been reduced to in a UAE bank account or in bonds in a UAE bank account. Yeah. So that's another option. It allows people to stay, but you have to renew it every 5 years. And there are requirements, like you have to have medical insurance and that sort of thing if you're living here and you're getting those visas. But they're very easy to get. There are very few restrictions on people having them. So a lot of countries, for them to issue their visas, they're actually quite strict. Certain professions are included, but certain ones are not. You might have to have a certain type of, let's say, education background. You might have to have a degree or be a professional qualification or something. You might have to have a clean criminal record. There's nothing like that for UAE Golden Visa. You just have to make the investment. Obviously, if you're not on some kind of sanction list or whatever, then you're going to get it. So it's very attractive. It's apparently the world's best plan B right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
So they, Dubai are capitalizing on this because they're attracting a lot of wealth here from other what were previously like very reputable jurisdictions for like wealthy investors like Switzerland and that, and they're saying bring your money here, bring your investment here, and you can live a very comfortable life here, and we'll let you live here for the long term through this golden visa status.
For sure, and it actually brings us to like the next important question is like what type of companies you can set up here, how easy or hard it is to do.
Okay. Well, I mean, the government like to say it's very, very easy.
Yeah.
And if you go on some of the websites for the government, they say like instant approval and things like this. Okay, but there are other things that you've got to do.
Yeah.
So like let's assume that you're coming here and you're going to sponsor yourself. Okay, you could do and you're going to sponsor yourself because you're going to have some kind of income here in the UAE. You can't do that as a foreigner without it coming through an entity and then you paying yourself. So that means I can't, as somebody, James, who lives here, work for a company in Dubai and receive money from them unless I'm either sponsored by them or I have my own, some sort of structure or entity that can receive that money and give it to me. So that's one of the requirements here. So to get around this, basically, there's the freelancer visa option. And the price of the freelancer visa can vary. And the different type of profession. So I think recently I checked on project management. Freelancer visa was one of the cheapest. It's about 8,000 dirhams. It can go right up to sort of 20,000 dirhams. But these ones, essentially, you have like a separate entity that you can set up. It will have a bank account, and you will be able to receive money into that account. And that account and that entity can issue your visa and issue your family visas, so that you can bring your wife and your kids and things like that here if you're a man, or vice versa. That's what I would say is the simplest and most cost-effective option. And you can do this with any of the free zones in the UAE. So free zones are what they call free trade zones that they have set up in each of the Emirates, and each one of them have several different authorities where you can register under. And depending on what kind of let's say profession or business that you're trying to do, you will go towards one free zone or another free zone. So like we're in the Dubai Financial, Dubai DIFC, Dubai International Financial Center. That's a free zone for financial services related companies. That's what Realiste is. Other companies will go in other free zones, other freelancers, like if they're into, let's say, journalism, they might go for a media free zone or a production free zone or what have you. And they will have certain advantages of doing it through those free zones. But it's important to remember this is an ongoing thing. So it's not something you just pay once and you've got your free zone license forever.
So either once or
You'd
twice
have to renew
a year.
it, and it's usually an annual fee to renew it. So although you might be able to get a visa for 2 years or for 3 years, or so sometimes now they're doing them for 5 years, you still need to pay this annual fee to maintain this like legal entity to be able to issue your visa and that. So those are fairly easy to set up. and you know, your normal, what we call know your client information is required, like your passport, your bank statements, your proof of address, like, you know, just so they know that who you are and, you know, that you're not laundering money or you're on some kind of most wanted list. The next thing is that you're going to need to usually pay some fees. Now, the process of setting these things up is fairly straightforward, but for foreigners coming here, a lot of people use an agent. And in most cases, the agents don't charge that much more than you going and do it yourself, because they actually make money back from the entity they're setting the thing up.
Yeah, by the way, we can help our clients with like visas and like set up a company, etc., etc.
Yeah, this is one of the things that you guys do in your angel department. You have these contacts with various different visas. So this is an easy option. However, you want to be careful that the visa you get today is the right visa for what you might end up needing if you're actually going to be permanently living here. So, you know, if you're not a project manager, for instance, and you're just buying a project management visa because you want the cheapest possible visa that you can get in Dubai at the moment.
There's a limited things you can do here.
Exactly. There'll be limitations on your activities and the type of business you can do and things. So you also have to think a bit about the future. So you need some advice about this. Is the best thing. Now, the other thing is, of course, if you want to set up a company. Now, if you actually want to set up a company, you can either do it by what we call a flexi office company, which is where you don't need to rent physical office space, or you do it through a company where physical office space is required. Okay, and then they have what they call the on-land companies, which is outside of free zones, or the free zone companies, or onshore, should I say, or offshore is another term that, you know, you might be more familiar with. Now, up until recently, if you had an onshore company, it was a legal requirement that you had an Emirati or a local shareholder who had 51% share. Okay. Now, to make it more attractive for foreign investors, they eliminated that rule last year. So now you still need a local person. Okay. They're called a service partner. Okay, to be on your company, so you appoint this local service partner.
Yes, employer.
You still pay them the same fee, okay, which is not much. You know, some of them charge more, some of them charge less, but usually it's maybe 5 to 20,000 dirhams per year. However, they will not have any shareholding in your company. It's 100% foreign ownership. Okay, but they are there because there's certain transactional activities you need to do with some of the legal entities in Dubai, like the Ministry of Economy, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of, let's say, Education, Ministry of Tourism, depending on whatever business you're in. And you'll need this local person to be helping you to facilitate that. Okay, so it's more complex. And the complexity of setting up the license is sometimes a little bit opaque from the outset. So it might look on paper like you can actually get your company set up in a month, but I have never met a single person who's managed to set up a company in a month. Okay, even though I think it is potentially possible, there's always these little hurdles in the way and additional requirements.
Well, I would say to set up a company maybe, but to open an account, bank account,
so there are things that are there are what we call dependencies in the process. Okay, so you might be able to get to the stage where you've got your trade license and you are able to sponsor yourself, but then to actually get like your operating permit to be able to do business, you're going to need your company account. You're going to need, if you have an office, you're going to need to show that it's been fitted out to the requirements and it's been inspected and it's been passed off by, you know, the municipality you know, so all of these things, until you've got all these things, you can't actually operate. And that's why a lot of people, they come here and it takes them what they thought took a month actually takes them 6 months.
Especially if someone is like start to like rent out something, like for example a space, and they think they're gonna like start working like in a month or two. Well, like be careful with that, because you might have like spend some time to like before you can operate, and especially to open a bank account, and especially if you have multiple shareholders. It's very hard.
And there are some requirements in quite often in most cases, I would say, for all the shareholders and the ultimate beneficial owners. So if one of your shareholders is another company, because a lot of people set up companies here from British Virgin Islands or even from Abu Dhabi Global Markets. Like, it's another free trade zone where a lot of people set up, a special purpose vehicle or something. The owners of that company still usually have to be present to sign certain bits of paperwork and things to get the company set up. And so if you're going to do that route, it's advisable for you to take the power of attorney up front to be able to do that before you start the whole process. Otherwise, later on, you're going to find that there's going to be some very expensive trips for them to come and stay here and do the paperwork. And sometimes they might be delayed because the paperwork's not done in the right amount of time and that sort of thing. So I'm not saying that these are things that should put you off doing business here, but they're things that you should plan for.
And you kind of have to, should keep in mind. Yeah.
In most cases, I would say that you're looking at 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Depending on the type of license you're getting, and whether it's freelance or whatever in the zone, to be fully operational. And if you have something more complex, like you're going for a financial services license or a medical establishment license, you could be looking at longer, because there are additional regulators that are involved, and there are sometimes competing regulators. So for medical, you have the Ministry of Health, but you also have the Dubai Health Authority, and there's some overlapping compliance and regulations, and you have to comply with both. Okay, so it can be a bit more complicated, but we have agents that can help with all this. I've set up 5 companies in Dubai since I've been here, so I've got some personal experience.
So it is possible.
It is. You can do it. You just need a willpower. That's all.
For sure.
And the ability to push a little bit.
Well, thank you guys. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
No, not really. But I would say that it's become so much easier since COVID, and then years following COVID. They've opened up loads of different visas. And one of the risks that people had for many years, that if they lost their job, that they would have to exit the country because their company was no longer sponsoring them. They've got rid of that. So now you can do some sort of self-sponsorship, and there's like a job seekers visa that you can apply for, which is renewable. Okay, so it gives people that safety net that they didn't have before. So it's become, and also in terms of the processing, I've got to say that the government is incredibly slick compared to other governments that I've interfaced with. So when I've renewed my family visas and my maid's visas and things like that recently, it's done in a matter of minutes. You go there with the paperwork, they check everything, submit it on the system. Okay, as long as everything's in check, you actually receive the SMS to say it's done there and then. And happy days. So before 10 years ago, you probably have to visit the agency 5 or 6 times or 10 times with different bits of paperwork, and they tell you, this is right, and then you come back again, no, it's wrong, you need this. All of that's gone, so it's much easier than before. So and we're here to help you guys. That's
for sure.
So thanks for tuning in.
Thank you. Thank you guys.